We are the creators of reality. Those who have mastered perseverance, those who thrive despite attempts to thwart us, those who make magic at the root of the very trees they hung us from. We are the mountains and the rivers. We are the sun and the moon. We are sand and gems. We are the first and the final. We be big and small. We be light and dark. We be seasoned and youthful. We be sensual and sacred. Those gifted and divine. Those powerful and radical. Those vibrant and ancestral. We are the creators of reality. We are the Black Oasis. Welcome to the Black Oasis podcast. I'm your host, Kaya Supreme, and this is the place where we lay it all down. Now, God is so good because the fact that this Black man is on this screen right now lets me know I'm going in the right direction. That lets me know I'm going in the right direction. Have you all ever met a force to be reckoned with? A force to be reckoned with. Someone who knows who they are, someone who commands attention, who is dynamic, who is wise, who is authentic, who is so loving and nurturing and willing to be of service to community, a force to be reckoned with. This Black man is a leader, an educator, a father, a podcast host, a mathematician, okay? All the things. It really is just a blessing to have him here. So without further ado, ladies, gentlemen, non-gender conforming friends, welcome the wonderful, the dynamic, the fantabulastic, espialidocious, califragic, all the wonderful things. Okafanus was
What's happening? How you feeling? Now, I'm looking for the person you were talking about, but I'm here. I'm right here.
Sir.
But it's all good though. We'll live with it. We'll live with it.
You live with it. I'm sure you will. You've been living with it. So it's all good in the hood. So just basically for the saints who don't know, give a little background about yourself. You are from Albany. Is that correct?
No, you don't went too far down the road. I'm 31836, Woodland, Georgia, outside of Columbus. 2 miles long, 1 mile wide, just as country as an ear corn, and love it to death because that's where I gained my roots, my foundation, and the people who poured into me. I just feel like that's just my responsibility to pay it forward, to pour into others as I have been poured into. So that's like the genesis. That's my why, to make sure that I honor the folks who poured into me by giving and pouring into other people as much as I possibly can. So,
and you do that. At what point in your life did you realize you wanted to be an educator, and then of service in the capacity that you are in? Like you work in leadership and education, so that's a whole other, realm beyond the classroom.
It is. Probably when I was 15, when I took my geometry class, and I knew I wanted to do something with mathematics. I knew I wanted to be a math major, and at the same time it coincided with my coaches who were pouring into me. My football coach, the late great Ronald Graham, my basketball coach Arthur Miller, and the way in which they loved on me, fussed at me, cussed me out, nurtured me, brought me up to Atlanta to the Braves games, just everything that they did for me. I was like, I want to do that for somebody else because I know how it made me feel. And then, also I got to pay homage to Coach Harold Johnson, who was also my football coach my 11th and 12th grade year. He actually brought me to my first Freaknik in 1993. But we didn't come to Freaknik. We came to see Georgia Tech spring football, their spring football game. And me and a couple of my partners who were with me, we wanted to get in them streets. We saw the streets.
The streets was popping.
they were popping. But he took us on back down the road. So I didn't experience my first Freaknik until 1994. But just the level of sacrifice that these men made and poured into me is the reason in which I did what I did and do what I do for young people now.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's not a work that anybody can do. There are people who are anointed to be in service and to inspire others. And when you have that anointing, people gravitate towards you. They run to you, and you have this ability, especially with the youth, for them to just love and adore you and feel comfortable and open and welcome just off bat. And working through this, working in that capacity, I know you come across a lot of opportunities for growth in our community, And so being an educator, what are some of the things that you see with our youth that you think we should pay attention to as a community? What are some things that we should pay attention to, and what are some things we can do to help balance out the experience that our young people are having?
I think first and foremost, it takes a level of being non-judgmental and understanding that people are, especially young people, they are who they are because of the experiences that they've had up until that point.
Yeah.
And if those experiences have been negative, then you're going to get negative outputs. If those experiences have been positive, you're going to get positive outputs.
Yeah.
So when you run across a young Thundercat who seems to not get it, seems to be disrespectful, take into account what has her experiences been, and try to be a change agent to provide positive experiences, to provide correction without attitude or judgment. So when you can do that, then that's when they begin to lock into you, because they're all searching for something. That's why gangs are prevalent, because people want to be connected to something.
Yeah.
Well, if you make yourself connectable, they're going to connect to you.
That's it. Be connectable. And I think sometimes, because sometimes I see adults who say they don't like children, and that always strikes me.
Listen. Let me put a pin right there. 90% of adults don't like children, and 90% includes teachers. I'm gonna let that sit for a minute.
Let that sit.
Because teachers, they love their subject matter. They love the power and the attention that they get. They love the authority that they have. Yet, most teachers do not like or love young folks. Right? To be a teacher is different from being an educator. Like an educator is a profession. Being a teacher is a calling.
Yeah.
Like I always say, I'm more of a teacher than I'm an educator. Because regardless of the setting that I'm in, I'm going to be a teacher. Right? An educator is someone who goes to a particular institution and do the work of imparting information to someone else, some younger people. But if you're going to be a teacher, like a teacher is a parent, a teacher is a coach, a teacher is a doctor. Like your profession does not determine whether you're a teacher or not. See, an educator is a profession, just like an engineer, just like a doctor, just like a social worker. Those are your professions. You being a teacher is just like being a preacher, right? Just like being a prophet. That's what you just sent here to do.
Yeah, your anointing. Absolutely. And that's interesting, because it's like, okay. And to that end, being connectable, right? And then being a person who is, let's say, teaching to the test, right? Like teaching to the standard of what is required by the system and the state. But then you're coming across these souls and experiences and these people with experiences that are real and raw, and they're in need of something healthy and positive to connect to. But we have adults that are blocking the way, right? A lot of us have not done the work to clear our own childhood experiences, and then we're allowing them to project onto the youth that we come in contact with.
You better talk.
And it's really
That's
a
all.
great opportunity for me in particular when I come across young people, especially if something, I don't know, uncomfortable happens, which rarely does, but if it does, I'm excited because it's actually revealing something I need to address
Yes,
and work on, because
yes,
they are like the purest form of God. You know, they the closest thing that we can get our hands on outside of an elder who's on the other side, right?
right,
And so you know, when you come across and work with, because you teach not only students, you're also teaching teachers, you're also teaching
yes,
educators.
yes.
When you come across an educator who is responding negatively to a student, how do you handle that situation? How do you address the situation? What are some things that you do to teach the adult about teaching the student?
I think you said it. It really is. You try to, I try to redirect them to what trauma they're experiencing in this moment. Everything in life is a you issue. So if you're upset, like if I get upset, regardless of what the external stimuli is, me being upset, me being hurt, me being mad is really literally something that is going on inside of me.
Yeah,
And so I try to get them to connect with themselves.
yeah,
I try to get the physical self to connect with the spiritual self.
yeah.
So it it just may be a question. What you mad about, bro? I mean, we're not even addressing the situation that happened between you and this young person. And
Right.
I'm saying that because in all transparency, like um
Sorry, that was one of my
no
nieces.
pressure, like in all transparency, because I've been in positions to where I've had to resign from a professional job as a principal because I allowed my personal trauma to interfere with being able to impact and influence young people,
Hmm.
right? So I do understand. I'm not coming at you from a judgmental standpoint. I'm
Yeah,
coming at you like I do understand what you're going through.
yeah,
So when you interact with a young person in a quote unquote negative way, is literally, what are you dealing with? What's up? This is an opportunity for you and I to chop it up. So
yeah,
let's get that clear. Then we can go back to the young person. It's all about the adults. The young people just reap the benefits of whoever we are and whoever we're not. However great we are and wherever our shortcomings are. That's what the young people experience. So it's not about, like I tell people all the time, man, I don't care about no kids in a joking type way. What I'm really saying is the people who affect kids, the people who interact with young people are my most important, is where my mind goes, where my
yeah,
attention goes.
yeah,
Because if you can navigate your trauma, then you're teaching them how to navigate their trauma.
yeah.
So in those instances, that was just an instance where that person wasn't able to navigate their trauma.
All opportunities. Everything is an opportunity. I like how you said the children benefit from what we are and what we are not.
Right.
You know, it's that other side that I find such a sweet value in, because it gets overlooked and it comes across as something that's not worthy or beneficial. But our traumas can be of benefit and of service, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they connect us, they give us empathy, and they reveal, you know, where the other opportunities for growth are. Um, Now, Father's Day is coming up,
Ah,
and I think of you as, you know, the ultimate dad. And you know, I am a daddy's girl myself. Shout out to Ernest Crosby, Coach Cros, the beast from the east.
come
And
on,
so,
coach. Much props, much love, much props.
listen, I'm surrounded by coaches, and I don't take that lightly. And I have been blessed to have been raised by a man. My dad raised me full time after the age of 13, and to be blessed to be raised by a man with a strong work ethic, a charismatic personality, and he is a community father. And I consider you to be the same thing because everybody calls my dad dad. Anybody can come over to the house at any time. you need a ride, we going to school, I'm on the way, whatever it is, that's what it is. And so where did, right? Because, I hate this narrative. I understand that there's truth, right? We want to hold each other accountable and we want the family dynamic to be healthy. But I know so many Black men who are excellent fathers, failings or not.
Mm-hmm.
They're present, they're invested, they're in process while fathering and while raising children. At the same time, whatever happens, they're still present and they're still willing. Talk to me just about your experience with fatherhood. I love your kids. Talk to me about your experience with fatherhood. You also developed a non-traditional family, right? And collected more children. And so with us just being in this celebration of Black men and masculinity and fatherhood, give us a little word about, number one, your experience, but then also a little word of inspiration for, I don't know, fathers who might want to have relationships with their children, but they can't for whatever extenuating circumstances.
First off, my experience has been life-changing. I've learned a lot. They've taught me a lot. Specifically, and I always say this is what I'm telling young fathers who have, kids who are less than 15 years old, right? There's this stage, like you get the idolization stage when they're first born up until they begin to see the world for themselves. Because up until that point, they're seeing the world through you. You are their superhero. You are their Superman, Batman, Black Panther. You are the end all be all. And then once they begin to see the world for themselves and experience life for themselves, they begin to see some of the differences between who you are as a father and who they are as a young person. So they move into this demonization stage, right? Where you don't know what you're talking about. You always own me. That don't make no sense. You become, it's crazy how the older they get, the dumber you get in their heads, right? And then you got that period of time for when they begin to get out on their own and experience life for themselves. And then that's when you become human.
Yeah.
So you got the humanization phase. So, but it's that interstitial space between when they demonize you and then they begin to humanize you. And that space right there, that was the greatest teaching for me. It's like you have already planned out what you want for your kids. You've planned out, okay, they're gonna graduate high school, they're gonna go to college, they're gonna graduate, and they're gonna do this, that, and the third. And that's not their plan at all. And which one do you ride with?
Right.
The plan that you created in your head, the narrative that you created, or do you become the cheerleader and support them in whatever it is that they want to do? And that was the toughest part for me. The realization, the reality that they've created for themselves juxtaposed to the reality that I had created for them. And when I was able to take into consideration that this is their life, I got my own life. We're two different people. I'm here to support, love, cheer, whatever, all of that, but you're not me. And when I got that realization, our relationships became like this.
Yeah.
Our relationships got so much tighter. So what I would say to brothers out there who are doing your level best, continue forth. I celebrate you. I bow at your feet. Don't let someone else's judgment determine your movement in your kids' lives. Make sure that whatever you're doing it because that's the best you can do. And if it seems sufficient, and sometimes it may not seem sufficient, and most times it's not going to seem sufficient, yet at the end of the day, you're creating experiences that those young people are going to keep with them to when they become grandparents. They're going to speak your name, exalt your name to the heavens and to their kids and to their grandkids. So understand that you being there, you putting in the effort, regardless of what people may say right now, regardless of maybe even how you feel about what you're doing right now. If you understand that you're giving the best that you got, that is what's going to be celebrated for years to come. Your name is always going to be planted in the hearts of your grandkids and your great grandkids because you gave your kids the best that you had. So please don't get caught up in the moment of it's not working, or mom not letting me see my son right now. There's going to come a time when it's going to be you and him. There's going to come a time when it's going to be you and her. And whatever it is that you have to give to them, give it. And that's what's going to be rewarded. That's what's going to be honored. The energy, the love, the amount of time that you give to your young folks, to your kids, is the thing that's going to be honored for eternity.
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting. I love the universe because gravity and inertia, there's balance everywhere in all things. And as you were speaking, you were talking about this cycle or this process, this journey of God, my parents are God, to, my parents are demons and the devil. And then somewhere where it's like, oh, my parents were people. My parents were people before they were my parents. I remember the moment when I was in therapy and I'm fussing and cussing and upset. It's still stuck in that demonizing stage for my parents. And then my therapist was like, "What's your mother's name? What's your father's name?" That's who you're talking about. You're talking about Rhea, and you're talking about Ernest. They don't belong to you, right? They don't. You don't own them because they're your parents and they birthed you. There is no ownership here, right? You all are in this human experience together. Yes. You all are in a dance and a collaboration, and you all are nothing but opportunities to one another to manifest the highest level of love and respect that you can for people who share your blood and flesh. So I remember that a light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my gosh, what were my mom's experiences before she became my mother that made her who she was in this moment? And do they align with mine? Or do I know a friend like that? And how do I feel about that friend? How do I feel? I had to step out of mommy and realize, oh, that's Rhea. Step out of daddy and realize, oh, that's Ern. That's Big Ern. Oh, that's bad. That's Belle's baby boy, you know? And so then you turned it on his head, and then you said the exact same thing when it came for your role as a parent. Mm-hmm. Your children were born, and you were like, God has hey kids, God has manifested in real time. And look what we're about to do, all these things. We're about to elevate. We're like, you going to college, Then it came that stage where it wasn't so great. You didn't say you demonized your kids because that's probably impossible. But you did say that it was it was a heavy hitting moment when you had to sober up and realize they were not born for you. They came through you.
Yep.
So you're seeing both parties in the relationship align and have to do the exact same work of realizing that these titles don't mean nothing. Mm-hmm. These titles don't mean a thing.
For me, I always ask my partners or younger people, like, to get them to focus in on their parents as people. And I just ask them, what's your mom's favorite color? What was her dream before you were born? What did she grow up, or what did he grow up wanting to be? Because most times, life hits us and we do what we have to do and begin to make sacrifices. The humanization stage, make sacrifices because we got kids. But when they were kids, who were they? What were their dreams? What were their aspirations? What did they like to do? What was their favorite color? So I just always ask, what's your mom's favorite color? If you don't know your mom's favorite color, then you don't see her as a woman. You see her as your mom. But when you get to the point where you can see your mom and your dad as a man and as a woman, that's when this happens. That's when that connection gets forged that will never be broken. Because if I'm looking at you as a function, my mom is a function. My dad is a function, but Elijah is a person. Linda is a person, and I connect with that person. I don't connect with the function.
That's some spirit walking right there, because a lot of times, a child experience might be that it's a transactional situation,
Yep.
and that creates this narrative where they can't see beyond, the obvious of what's taking place and how they're being grown and matured and nurtured. So that'll set us free right there.
Yeah. I really think that would is going when we begin to look at our folks as individuals and not as their function. That's what's going to reconnect us as Black folks.
And that's on every level: dating,
Yep.
marriage.
Yeah.
We get told, I had to pop that bubble of a man's supposed to pay your bills, a man's supposed to pay your bills, a man's supposed to pay your bills, instead of real, like that's something that got planted in the story in my experience,
Right.
And I had to, when it came to healthy dating, I had to, oh wow, no, it's not real.
No, that's a figment of your imagination. That's a function that you asking somebody to jump into. So you're trying to enslave a person. Like, let us free.
Wow.
Now, if you don't like or you don't prefer my freedom, then you find someone else's freedom that you prefer. That's your business.
Let us free.
I'm gonna be quiet. We can get off the phone. We're gonna get off this podcast.
No, let us free. Sent me. Wow. And see, now you're jumping into something where really all this dysfunction does come from the same structure and system in place, because we have people emulating and trying to reclaim power that they feel has been taken from them by the system, but they're taking it out on the people who are in their community.
Right. And you're taking the power, and it's still under the same paradigm of the oppression that we were unprivy to. Right. So I'm gonna let you be you, and I'm gonna love you if I decide to. Right. And if you're not my preference, I'll find someone else. But you being you is most important. Right. And for me, that's what like part of the thing I've been on is I want people to see me for me, not me being a father, not me being a husband, not me being a mathematician, not me being a coach, not me being a teacher, not me being an educator. Me. What's my favorite color? What makes me laugh? Who am I? Like, I want you to see me. But we've been taught that you have to do these things. You have to jump into these particular jail cells of fatherhood, these particular jail cells of husbandhood, these particular jail cells of doing this for somebody and being that for other people, or being selfish, whatever it may be. All of these things are jail cells. Like, man, who is you? Who is you?
Oh, who do I be?
No, I'm saying that just
okay. Yeah. Like, what is the substance?
Right.
What's the substance?
Because I can perform any function.
Right.
And that doesn't make me. You still don't know me.
Yeah.
You know how I make you feel.
Yeah.
You know that I can make you think. Right. And that's your affection and affinity for me. Right. What I'm asking for in return is, do you take the time to figure out who I am? Because I'm going to take the time to figure out who you are. And I'm going to love that, and I'm going to accept that, and I'm not going to be judgmental of that.
Factual.
So,
big facts.
And that is part of the process of, especially like young cats who didn't have their fathers in their lives and fathers trying to get back in their lives. If they start there, they can reconcile and build strong relationships with their father who wasn't there when they were young. Yeah. When they began to see their fathers as men. Not as a function. Okay, he didn't fulfill the function, but he still was a man. He still is a man, just like you are. So you share commonality. So can we respect that? Can we honor that? Can we celebrate that? And once you start that, right, once you start with the honor, the recognition, and the celebration, then now we can forge the relationship. We can patch up the hurt and the pain that we experienced at 8, 9, and 10 because you wasn't there. I'm not looking at you as a function, I'm looking at you as a man.
Wow.
And that's what I would tell young cats who's trying to and who's trying to, reconnect or connect with their fathers.
Yeah.
And I would tell fathers, you don't have to beat yourself up. Give yourself mercy. You made decisions that may not have been the best decisions.
Yes.
You made mistakes. But that doesn't mean you don't get an opportunity to forge the relationship with your son, with your daughter.
Yeah.
So give yourself grace.
Man.
Keep it pushing.
We can always course correct. It's a simple choice. The same way a simple choice rendered us in one position, we can make another one to take us someplace else. Thank you. Thank you so much for your wisdom and your vulnerability and just, again, overall authentic coolness. It's consistent and it's transformative and definitely necessary. You would just be blowing my mind. You have a podcast.
Yes.
Serendipity with Inky Johnson. And please, first of all, how did you all decide on the name Serendipity? And then number 2, tell us about this exciting news that is coming up for the evolution of the Serendipity podcast.
Well, first off, I didn't come up with it. Serendipity came up. Inky came up with Serendipity. He did Serendipity. Started the first year. It was sort of like this format right here, where he was, it was COVID. And, this really when the pods and stuff to really start popping. And he interviewed different people through his connect, whatever. Inky is one of the top 3, I call him the top motivational speaker in America, right? He goes across the country and people pay him ukus and bukus amount of money just to hear him talk that talk, and wonderfully so. But his mind was turning and he wanted to go in another direction. And so he just asked me would I host it with him? And I was, because he was in my first class, my first homeroom class, 1999, 2000, Cohen Middle School, East Atlanta, Georgia. And we've been rocking ever since. I would go pick him up. We would play ball one-on-one in the mornings. I just wanted to, like I said, pay it forward, because those are the things that my coaches did for me. But anyway, we have always been in touch. And, his story, you can look it up. Inky Johnson, just Google it. You'll see the story. But anyway, he asked me to do it. And I was like, okay, cool. Because I'm doing it off of, you asked me, Young Thundercat, it was like Isaiah or Amari, my sons, asking me, Pops, can you do this? Yeah, no pressure. And it's kind of taken on a life of its own. We did 1 season, then now we're in the 3rd season. And we've established a base and established a following. And so, right now we're in the beginning stages of, we're going to take it out on the road and see what it looks like live and in person. Because, when we, like now, you and I are dialoguing, but it's just you and I. But imagine you and I having this dialogue on stage in front of people.
Right.
People are able to react and ask questions, the Q&A and all of that. So we want to really connect with the people and give them some authentic perspective, our authentic perspective, which hopefully gives them permission to establish their own perspectives. Because we're about the business of eradicating perception and elevating perspective.
Ooh. Now you did that.
Because perception is other folks' business. Perspective is your business.
That's a word. That's an absolute word, because that's what you can control.
Right. Exactly.
That's what's going to create that reality.
It's all about what can you control. You can't control how people perceive you.
Yeah.
You can control how, it's like, perception is how, people see you. Perspective is how you see.
Correct. It's not about what other people see or how you look to others. It's about
Right.
what you see and what you consume, what you believe in response to what you see.
Yep.
And dang, it's nothing but liberation all up in that one. Nothing but liberation all and serenity all
Yep.
in that. You know, so everybody who comes on this podcast, and this is the last question. Everyone who comes on this podcast, I ask one question. If you could go to sleep tomorrow and wake up and have one wish come true, I dream of Jeannie immediately. No, just instant fix. What would your one wish for Black people be? One wish.
When they look in the mirror, when they wake up and smile and feel good about the reflection that they see. Love the reflection that they see. Adore the reflection that they see. Be overjoyed about the reflection that they see.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And I think the revolution is happening, I think slowly but surely,
Sure.
I think it's happening,
Yeah. We got a groundswell. We got a groundswell of positivity, of self-efficacy, of understanding that life is about the process, not the product. That it's about your character, not about your material gain. It's about who you are as a person, understanding where you come from, understanding where you're going, but most importantly, understanding where your feet are right now.
I'll say. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful. So
Thank
grateful.
you. I had to beg to get on here, but anyway.
No, you didn't. I was scared. Listen, when the Saints are doing big things, you don't, sometimes in your mind, I get concerned about being burdensome or adding or asking too much. And that's my stuff. That's my stuff. So
yeah, that's for you.
That's my stuff.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for even just, tap me on the shoulder, like, excuse me, because don't think I don't watch.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm watching you. I see what you're doing. I was like, wait a minute. We gotta make this happen and make these connections.
Thank you.
I'm about to go and try to teach some mathematics to some young Thundercats in the city of Atlanta real quick. About speed, time, and rate. What is it? Distance, speed, time, and rate. So,
well, thank you everybody for
what we do.
Thank you, everyone. He's living and walking the walk and talking the talk. So the Saints got to roll. But thank you, everyone, for listening and continue to support Black Oasis. Season 4 in full effect. Just visit the website, www.blackoasis.love. And stay Black until next time. And luckily, you don't have a choice. Peace.
Peace.